This is the second video of describing this package unit like if it's an automotive Prius Prime. At the end of the last video, if you go back, I got knocked off by a phone call, customer, emergency job. Got to go out that, but that's not bringing down a freezer van for like ice cream and stuff from Sacramento. And I'm in San Francisco, and no, I told them I'd give you $1,000 to go up there to have me drive up there and do that. Have them drive it down here for me. So getting back to this, before we were cut off by a phone call, like a car, we're still thinking of that condensate drain. Here's the evaporator again. Here's the condensate drain. Just like the car on a warm, humid day when the air conditioning is working, you have condensation. You see the water dripping on the floor. Well, in this case, this is your condensate drain that if you went up under the engine compartment by the firewall, you would see that little, usually black rubber plug coming out, maybe with a little squished end on it, facing down a little bit, and that's where your water would leak off of an evaporator. So this is exactly like a car evaporator, condensate drawer coming down, and normally would just weep on the floor. Here nowadays, you're not allowed to let them fall on a roof, multiple reasons, and they have to go over to a drain. Sometimes now it even has to be treated, but this was put in several years ago, only a couple years ago. But so that's your condensate drain, just like an automotive, just like in a car. Remember, three-phase compressor, just like a Prius, expansion valve, except for not being an H-block like a Prius, just like a Prius. Unfortunately, cars do not have moisture indicator sight glasses. All cars that I did custom line, especially limousines, but I used to make a lot of rubber hoses, and so did my brothers and my dad and my uncle and stuff like that. When we would make up hoses for cars back when they used to be rubber, we ordered hoses in 500 and 1,000 foot big spools. Like you would see those big giant spools that electrical companies would have on the back of big flatbed vans for doing telephone poles and stuff like that. That's how big our spools of hose would come. And we went through tens of thousands of feet of rubber hose. But I would always put on all my cars, and some of them are still out there, I put moisture indicator sight glasses back in cars back on the early 80s. And that's when I started doing that. And anytime I did a hose, now you don't do hoses anymore. When I modify my own car, like I was thinking of doing my Prius, I'm gonna either add a glycol system to my Prius or my Yaris to cool glycol, and then feed that cool glycol into my custom-made driver's seat to cool my driver's seat. So on hot summer days, I could literally be sitting on liquid cooled glycol going back and forth down my seat to cool my back instead of getting a hot sweaty back. I will be sticking a moisture indicator in my Prius, my electric compressor, with possibly a glycol system. And I have another for my Prius, another thing I want to do, or my Yaris, I'm not sure which one. I got a rear air conditioning HVAC unit, heating and air conditioning. I just want the air conditioning part of it. The big heater box came out of the back of a Toyota Sienna, and I want to put that inside part of my firewall of either my Prius or my Yaris, and have that help cool. And I'll custom modify it where I could bring on a 90 or 100 degree day, I could bring my cabin temperature of my vehicle down to 50 degrees. So that'll be another modification I'll have coming, but just like a car. And this pump is going to stay on overnight. It's Saturday, we got to get out of here. We're at the far end. Remember, I'm pulling vacuum with one hose vacuum. I'm pulling vacuum from the suction side, low side line, and I have my Blue Vac Plus Pro micrometer attached to the high side line on the other end of the system, farthest point away from my suction to take my vacuum. And it's about 5 p.m. right now, and we're at 420 microns. This is going to stay overnight, and I probably won't get out here until noon tomorrow, 2 o'clock tomorrow. And so let's see where this sets after about 16 hours, 15 hours of vacuum. see you guys on the next catch up of this.